Circus Whispers. Welcome to Circus Whispers. This is episode 2 of podcast Circus Whispers. I'm Nadja van der Weijden. I will be your host today. In this podcast, we will talk to young makers doing a residency at Tent House for Contemporary Circus. All artists are more or less active in the circus discipline and beyond. And we wanted to make a podcast to make a document for the in-house makers, for other makers, but also for you listeners to hopefully serve as an audio document with hints of inspiration through peeks inside the making processes of these young makers. Just before they enter the studio, we invite them for an open conversation. Together, we discuss their artistry, topics, themes, and practical dilemmas that concern them, their generation, and the circus field. This week, we sit down with Luuk Brantjes.
Perfect. Let's go.
Just to share, we speak in English since most of the makers are non-Dutch speaking. So, who are the makers?
Who are the makers?
We are talking to Luuk Brantjes today. He started his residency this week at Tent, and we're looking forward to it. Let's introduce him. Luuk Brantjes. He is a circus artist from Oosterbeek. In the 2 years he studied at Codarts Circus Arts in Rotterdam, he specialized in the discipline of teaterboard. You continued in Stockholm later on. There you met your current circus partners, and together you are Four on Board, a circus company specialized in teaterboard.
Yeah.
Besides the project with Four on Board, you will get to find your way as a maker in the circus field. And at the moment, you're working on a project where the teaterboard is approached as an entity. And in line with that, at Tent, as a maker for a week, you will investigate how the discipline is influenced when the teaterboard is replaced, or the teaterboard partner is replaced by an object. So, one question that I think needs to be asked, because this is not something that is known to everybody, what is a teaterboard? Luuk, tell me.
So a teeterboard is basically a seesaw for grown-ups. It's a plank atop a balancing point, and you jump in the air, and by landing back on the plank, you catapult your partner into the air, kind of creating a repetitive pattern of jumps. And once you're in the air, you can do various flips and patterns of jumping over to other sides, and it's basically a lot of jumping.
Wow. So, hey, in your reading or in your writing beforehand, before coming to the residency, you talked about these topics that you're busy with, that you're dealing with. And I was wondering, there's two that especially talk to me, is the combination of peace and fragility. How do you see that? Because, of course, it's very much of a power activity also that you have. So how does that relate? Tell me.
Yeah, I really like that question. It's, for me, exactly this power and kind of this brutalness of the discipline, because there is a lot of impact. It's big, it's impressive, and I really enjoy that on one hand, but I also feel very limited in just that framework of being spectacular, of being virtuous.
Yeah, virtuous. Yeah.
And then I myself think it's way more interesting to try to involve kind of the contrary and kind of create a what's it called again? Like an anti-manifest, basically, of what I don't want it to be. So that was when I was in school. It started with an anti-manifest. I didn't want to be virtuous. I didn't want to be powerful. I didn't want that level of testosterone that comes with it. And that's why I came to these topics. And myself, I can also, as a person, relate to those more. So my interest was definitely to bring those into my discipline and show that is also possible. Because it is a discipline that contains a lot of force. But it also it catapults you into the air, and there is a moment of weightlessness and a moment of flying, if you will. So I think when you highlight those moments, it can be very peaceful and fragile.
For you the power is more up than down.
Exactly.
Nice.
Yeah.
I guess, I mean, I figure, no, of course, I'm not a circus maker. I'm a maker, but not a circus maker. This moment of the and I think for you this counts also very much what you need, the power and the virtuosity, but also I think it's very this bracing for impact that you talk about. No, this is something that I think is really part of circus. This part where you have to deal with, well, the limits of your body a lot, the limits in your case also. So you have an object working with you or against you. It's a bit how, depending on the day, I guess. So, you know, how does this relate in a way, this almost craftsmanship, like you have the dealing with the situations and the limits of what is possible versus also the art and the creation of new work and making the tension of those limits or testing those boundaries. Is this something that goes hand in hand? Does that work often? Do you feel that works nicely together, or is there a lot of friction there? How does that feel for you?
I feel it's a limitation in that way, that within the creation there are these certain moments that you cannot go around. On the other hand, you can learn how to use them and have them as an advantage point in your creation and in your work.
Yeah, then because I also wonder this, I mean, it's often in my field, I work a lot with audio and audiovisual installations. And there I feel also that, well, for instance, so the limits of working with audio or working with your tools. And so in my case, it's machines. In your case, it's your body. To what extent, is this limitation also, can you overcome, and do you just need a lot of practice in order to get that step further?
I decided to create this piece by myself because I've always worked within groups because my discipline is a group discipline. And I just really felt the urge to create something that was fully mine, to create without compromises. And with that standpoint in mind, I thought like, okay, then I need to find a way to still be able to practice my discipline, but do it by myself, which then led to me having sleepless nights trying to think of ways how to practice, to create constructions to be able to jump teeterboard alone. So I came up with this hammer structure where the hammer is basically my jumping partner. It's a big sandbag, a big weight that I catapult into the air, which then replaces the body of a partner, which allows me to still jump teeterboard in kind of a normal way. Like I still jump, there's still the repetitive pattern. And yet I also wanted to work more, to have a completely different approach to my discipline, because now I just replicate the partner. But I thought, okay, what brings it when I'm really alone with the teeterboard?
I mean, that's where also an interesting tension lies, is if you are not dealing with another person, there are several things going on, of course, of course you have to deal with the practicalities, but also there's another notion of performing together. So as a performer, but in this new situation for you also as a maker, you're going to, develop your artistic practice in a different direction, right? And then as a next step, you as a maker, as an artist deciding on working, how do you, well, maybe first of all, because also you're at the start of a residency, how do you wish developing that?
For this creation, I really took the structure that I built and the teeterboard itself and me as a starting point, and started discovering what the possibilities are with the different constellations of the teeterboard, of the structure, of me, or just me and the teeterboard, or just the teeterboard and the external structure. So like that, I started generating new material. When I'm in residency, I'm all alone in the studio for a week or longer. And it brings this certain mindset or state of mind with it, that you're so focused on your work that nothing else exists around it. And I get completely swallowed up by the piece.
Hey, one thing that I'm curious of, you stated earlier that there is too few innovation in your discipline. Why did you state that?
I think teeterboard is quite a spectacular and virtuous discipline. People really enjoy to see the risk.
Yeah.
And that might result in having less urgency to expand the boundaries of the discipline. You would rather get stuck kind of doing what you do, while in other disciplines, for example with juggling, there's been so much innovation and constantly expanding the boundaries of what is possible within the discipline, what is possible within juggling. And I would really like to see that tendency to also come to teeterboard, because it's so much more than just jumping up and down. So I think having different approaches towards the object, towards the movements that come with it, that is what really interests me.
Yeah. Interesting. And so one thing that you're planning on working with this week, and I think indeed this might be on, well, the stretching of this discipline also, is using guided improvisation techniques. Can you tell a bit about those? Like what kinds do you use? How do you work with that? Tell me.
I mostly use them to generate new material. So I have a starting point of a constellation with the teeterboard and the structure that I use, and then set rules for myself, which I can then play within. So for example, I make a phrase or an existing phrase, and I work on that phrase, but change the speed, change the tempo, try to have that phrase, but do it with my eyes closed. And then you create a lot of new material, a lot of kind of little words. And these words you then afterwards can combine into sentences, making phrases, and trying to write a poem or something, but then within my circus practice.
Yeah, so it gives you a kind of it gives you a text of actions,
Yeah.
in a way, like yeah. And how have you been dealing with that before on creating those phrases? So how is this something you do alone, or is this for the first time that you're doing that alone? How do you plan on doing that this time?
For this creation, I also work with a few external eyes that help me. Yeah, it's very important also to have those collaborators. I really use these external eyes to push me in new directions, and to also keep me grounded within the work.
Hey, next item, I call it the bump. The bump.
The bump.
Because sometimes there is this moment, or maybe not even sometimes, but I think actually always in the making process. As a maker, I'm also very curious, but I think for a lot of people this is interesting. The makership isn't something necessarily easy. Projects don't necessarily come naturally. Sometimes they do, but I don't really believe in such miracles. So what are you hoping to, or afraid of running into or bumping into this upcoming week?
I think it's the fact of being all alone in the studio. I think that can be very difficult, because I like to be around people and to be with people. And that's also something that really is present within my piece, to kind of balance between being alone, which I think everyone is really good and can really benefit from being alone, because it's a really great thing to be able to be at peace with yourself. But then also there is definitely the downside of being lonely, where you feel like something is missing, where you're not really comfortable with just you by yourself. And I think both of those moments will be very present within this week of creating.
Yeah, this is also a topic that you're planning on dealing with, really, right?
I try to convey that feeling to the audience by my relation towards kind of the object used most in the show, which is a sandbag. And I think my relation towards that sandbag constantly changes within the piece. When I feel alone, so when I'm really comfortable with being by myself, it feels like the sandbag is more an extension of my body. It is more of a tool that I use to accomplish what I want to do. Yet when this feeling of loneliness takes over, I might want to find comfort with this sandbag to fill up this missing void that causes this loneliness. So I think the sandbag really is this metaphor of the two states.
Yeah. Hey, and I think something that I bump into a lot as a maker is that there is this certain point, especially within residency period or within creatorship, is that you start at a certain point, you start walking in a circle, and you like, it becomes a loop, and there is this frustration and feeling that you're kind of bored of yourself. You're not, you're stuck in something, and you know that you're stuck and you don't know how to get out of it, and there is a way out. And often for me, it's a feeling, hey, I'm almost at this next step. How is this something that you recognize? Is this something that you've had before within the making processes?
Yeah, I think it's mostly accepting the material and accepting what I create, to also take that step back and not immediately self-criticize the work.
Yeah, so that's also, you also found yourself a way out of it, in a way, of such moments. Yeah, because that was indeed, like, how do you get out of it? By stepping back. And do you have the feeling that gives you also enough distance often? Is that distance then mostly the answer?
Yeah, it definitely doesn't always work. So I try to create situations for myself where I'm in the optimal conditions to create. And then once this self-criticizing comes in, I actually physically need to distance myself from my creation space, because otherwise it just keeps on going and I keep on trying to adapt it and get in contact with the material again. So I really physically need to kind of get out, go for a walk, go for a cycle, to be able to come back with a fresh mind.
Yeah, nice. Go for a cycle. I like that. Good idea. I should do that next time.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, cycling
good one.
Always solves everything.
I agree. So depending on the country where you live, I guess it's not always possible, but indeed, it's good advice.
Yeah, luckily we live in the Netherlands.
Hey, every time we ask the residents to bring an object or a prop and discuss this thing or these things with the maker, and what it is, what the role of it is, how do you bodily relate to it? Is there a bigger topic related to this or small? So for you, tell me, what did you bring, and can you let us hear? Can you tell about it? Share with us. What is your thing? The thing.
So since I work with a lot of objects, I couldn't really choose which one I wanted to use or to talk about. So I chose to bring something completely different. It's kind of the facilitator for me to be able to do all of this, which is basically, it's my trolley. I have a lot of material and a lot of heavy material. I travel by van, and it's about 500 kilos of stuff that needs to be moved. And most of the time I'm all by myself. Yeah. So this trolley really allows me to, not break my back.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, this is like so indeed it's almost this is maybe your unwanted but necessary talisman, exactly. Because otherwise you cannot get the stuff together. Yes. Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Hey, so each time the previous resident sends a quote or a statement or a thought to the next resident as food for thought, hopefully to help the maker during their upcoming residency. The quote. Live in the show, they will report on their thoughts on that quote. And Nick and Germain, the previous residents, left you a quote, both of them.
Okay, so hey, Luuk. So my quote for you would be a quote that kind of guides me through life that I really like. It's a super classic and known one. It says, they didn't know that it was impossible, so they did it.
Thank you very much. And then, Nick, can you share your quote or thought?
Yes. Hello, Luke. Here is my quote from you. It's from a very intelligent woman called Dinah Dash. She is one of my drag characters. So here you go. Less is not more. More is more. But more is not always better unless it's glitter. Keep your darlings, cut the crap, and don't forget to have fun.
Voila.
Oh, wow. I really like those, especially since they're so different from each other. It's really cool.
Yeah, they're actually quite almost opposite, no? I mean, maybe it tells something about, well, I mean, it comes from two different people, but both to you also knowing a bit of your work. So tell me, what resonates for you?
Yeah, I really like about the quote of Yama that people always think that they need to know everything beforehand before they actually start trying something or doing something. But I think just the fact of doing something and see what it results in, I think this is so beautiful, and it really resonates with, when you don't know, it's impossible. Like, you just try something, do it, and then realize like, oh, whoa, this just happened. And that also really happened for me within the process. So I really, really enjoy this quote.
Cool. Yeah, I guess, I mean, this relates also to this improvisation practice that you're talking about, no? Trying to discover
No, definitely.
ways without knowing, but setting these rules. So this is your way of dealing with that. Yeah. Nice.
Yeah, and about the quote of Nick, actually,
how about the glitter in your practice?
There should be more glitter in my practice. Yeah, I'm gonna take that dearly, that advice, to add some glitter to it. Yeah.
Nice. Okay, so their object, I think that's nice to relate to now. Last time was Germain made us hear or listen to a sewing machine. So maybe one day, if you're needing costume advice, you could go to them and ask for more glitter. They might be good at it.
Yeah. Oh, I think I will. Maybe not for this creation to have the glitter, but there will definitely moments where I will need glitter in my life.
Hey, and you also prepared a quote for the next resident that's gonna be coming soon. That is Jessica Helmuth. She's an aerial roper, and you have thought of a quote to share for her. Can you share it to us as well?
Yeah. So, hi, Jessica. I prepared a quote from the book Thinking Through Circus, and I chose this quote because we're both using apparatuses, and I think circus very much relates to the use of apparatuses. So this particular quote is from Joseph Stieler. Here it goes. Maybe just preparing the stage for the objects and then objects performing for other objects, or maybe not even a stage. Theaters are houses for human amusement. A tree falling in the woods only recognized by the other trees slowly falling apart over the years. Or the small fish traveling on the back of whales, cleaning the skin of the whale. Or just a piece of rock rolling down the mountain, taking more and more stones, going down the valley, not recognized by any human.
Nice.
I hope you can use this in your work.
We're very curious to hear what she will tell us about it, what resonates to her.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing not only the quote, but also the book, indeed.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to hear next episode what Jessica will say.
Yeah, I'm curious.
Yes. Hey, thank you
Perfect.
very much, Luuk. Super nice to talk to you.
Thank you.
And, thank you to meet you. It was nice. It's only virtual still. I'm very much looking forward to a live premiere. So let's say somewhere next year. What do you think?
Hopefully end of this year.
End of this year. Okay, good. You give yourself some time, but not too much. Very good. Nice.
Exactly.
Hey, and enjoy your residency very much. I hope it will be fruitful and nourishing.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
And one last thing that I want to share with you. You can ask questions to the makers. Questions from the audience. Question from the audience. Do you have a question, comment, suggestion, thought, or quote that you would like to share with the makers? Great fun. Send us an email to info@tent.eu and we will include your contribution in the next podcast. And for now, till next time. This podcast is a collaboration with Tent House for Contemporary Circus, myself as the host, director and editor, Natja van der Weijden. Music is made by Tent housemaker Benjamin Monkey Kuitenbrouwer. The mixage is done by Jahid Metin. And many thanks to the makers, House of Circus, Luuk Brantjes, Jessica Helmuth, Sinking Sideways, Lisa van Brakel and Mart en Jan de Kinder. Tent House for Contemporary Circus is supported by the Performing Arts Fund and the Amsterdam Fund of the Arts. For the latest news, subscribe to our newsletter and visit our website www.tent.eu and follow us on Instagram. If you want to experience more of Tent, it's possible soon. Come to our live stream of Back to Base on May 29th. Check the website for more info on this. Bye bye!